Welcome to the Dice Tower Summer Spectacular, featuring live plays, contests, and we'd like to thank our sponsors and our special guests, and we hope that you enjoy.
Everybody, I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Rod Phelps.
Oh, yes. This is our top 10 games of all time.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
before we get started, all right, Rod, who are you?
Are you related to an Olympic swimmer?
My brother is Michael Phelps, but unfortunately we are no way as dedicated as the swimmer. No, I'm Rod. I am Dice Tower adjacent, friends with everybody down here. I've worked on a couple of games, but my main goal here is to balance these two folks' list out with a bunch of Ameritrash in theme.
I think we have the polar sides here. We've got the Euros, we've got the Ameritrash, and we've got the weird little Omni Gamer.
Yes.
Omni Gamer. So I'm really curious here how many have synced up here. Did you end up doing your top 100 at all?
I did not. not. So I probably did about, just to make my top 10 list, I probably did about a top 25. And every one I took out of my top 10 was incredibly painful. So it took me a while to narrow it down to 10. This is a lot harder than what you think when you actually have to write it down and commit to it.
You know, it's still just as hard to knock the ones off of your 100 as it is off of your 10.
It was tough.
There's still those emotional, you're like, but I still really like that game. I just can't talk about it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Because you do this yearly. Do you still do the pub meeple method, or do you kind of look at last year's and be like, all right, we're replacing that and move it around,
This
or what?
was the first year I did pub meeple.
Okay.
And then I
You just did a brute force before.
Yeah, so before, see, I've always had Chris. Chris is amazing. He does all the heavy lifting for me. He's the one, he's basically the person who finds me all the games I love. He does all the heavy lifting. So he did a top 100. He wrote down every game that he'd ever played. And then I went through and I was like, well, I've played 2/3 of these.
Nice.
So
nice.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I went from there over the last couple of years. So
I started doing the top 100. I was like, brute force, going to do it in there. Then I did pub meeple. I'm like, this is going to work. And then some of the ones it comes up with, you're like, well, that's not right. That's not. Yeah, so there's a lot of pivoting in my list here.
The tough thing about doing a top 10 and not doing anything prior was there's a lot of games I haven't played enough to get to that top 10, but they'd be in that top 30. Right. I would have had a place if we were talking top 30. I'm like, but this is going to rise. But I couldn't do that. So these are all games that are tried and tested, though I think there might be a couple that want to break in, but it's not fair to do that. So here we are.
So have you ever done a top 100 before this? You have, right?
No.
Oh, so this is the first time?
This is the first on the channel,
First time ever?
Yep.
Okay, but like as you personally, have you ever done one?
Yes, I have it before.
Did you have those notes from beforehand?
I did.
Okay, because I was really curious because I had a lot of games that fell this year, which surprised me. And it was a little sad to see them go, you know?
That's the hardest thing, too. And also, I realized I'm going to do a list later, that top 10 games that should have been on my top 100, really.
Right.
Because the ones that I didn't play enough that I don't know should be on there.
Yeah.
Because there are some I'm like, this could be a top 10 game, but I haven't played it enough for it to warrant that spot.
That's where I hit. So
that's the benefit of doing this every year, is then I felt more okay with the new games that I played a couple times. I was like, I'm going to put them on. And if they don't last more than a year, they don't last more than a year, and that's okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So, all right, so you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, no peeking at my list. So, tell you what, we're going to do something crazy here, and let's start with number 10.
Alrighty, I'm up, right?
You are up. Rod is playing this microphone. What's happening over there?
Number 10.
All better?
All right.
There we go.
My number the 10 is...
Number what? number the 10.
Is Tybor the Builder. This is an Alexander Pfister game. It's actually like a little card game. Have you played?
Hold on.
Do you guys know?
Hey.
Was it on your list? Was it a previous?
Nope, haven't played it.
It looks like the same artist from Oh My Goods.
I have not.
It is. So it's Alexander Pfister.
Huh?
Same as Oh My Goods. So it is a multi-use card game. And have you ever played Glory to Rome?
I have. I love Glory to Rome.
So Glory to Rome, you put cards over here, you put cards over here, you put cards up here. It's a little bit like that. Like you have these cards in front of you and you're laying cards up. If you put them at the top, they're kind of an engine builder and they give you discounts for future cards. If you lay them to the right side, they become strength and they use strength. So that later you can discard them to the left and build buildings with them using the strength. And so it's just this cool multi-use card and you're just drafting back and forth. And so it's short, it's quick, it's simple. And it's funny because I feel like I've got surprisingly a lot of lighter games on this top 10 list that
This is a lighter game?
Me. Oh yeah, this is just a little card game.
Huh, okay.
So this surprised me that I had so many little light games, and I think it's because I have my weekday games and then I have my like gourmet games.
Right,
and
your
I
meals.
have to cover both. So this is a game that if you were to ask me any night of the week, if you'd be like, hey, do you want to play Tower the Builder?
That's fair.
I'd be like, 100%. Yeah, let's play. It's going to take 30 minutes. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fun. It's going to have a cool little engine, and then it'll be done. So I really like it.
So if I was to play this, it's probably in my wheelhouse. If it's at like a mid-weight, multi-use card and such, these are the kind of games, just in case a lot of folks don't know, Wendy and I are probably a little different on our games, but these are the kind of games that I tend towards if I'm going to play games on that side. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So,
Wendy, do you think you can move your microphone to the other side? Because like you're turning away.
Oh, am I?
Completely.
Oh.
It doesn't flip, so I'll have to see if I can get that to do that
Is
shebang.
that good?
Oh, sorry if everybody heard that.
Is everybody good?
Because you're just turning completely with the idea.
Okay.
This is
Speaking-
interesting. This reminds me of one of the games that if I would have saw the cover, I probably would move right on by.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to know it's a card game for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's literally like this little. It's one of those that if I had another copy, I would make Tom put it in the library because I would pull it out at conventions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone by it. Like I said, I played All My Goods.
I love All My Goods.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured along that line. So and it's a good game.
Yeah.
So I'd try this with you.
Yeah, Alexander Pfister. Great. Great designer.
All right, Rod, what is your number 10?
All right, my number 10 is, we're going to start right off with a great big game. This game has a little bit of everything in it. You like Quedlinburg? It's got that. You like card drafting? It's got that. You like area control? It's got it.
I'm liking all the words you're saying up until now.
I like none of these
Let's
words.
see. What's the matter with you?
Oh, no.
See where we land.
And my number 10 is Wonderland's War, actually. Wonderland's War starts off, you have two phases. You have a tea party, and in the very beginning, you're making these choices to pick up cards. Every card on this tea table is amazing. So you feel like everything's overpowered. You feel like people are getting better items than you. And as you move around the table, if you go too far around the table, you start incurring madness.
Right.
After you're done with that, you will move to an area control game where everything you did at the table moves down. You have all these players. Each one has different powers, whether you're the Jabberwocky and you're poisoning cards and messing with the area control. Maybe you're the queen. If you're the queen, you're moving soldiers all over the board. Or you can be Alice, the Cheshire Cat. When he gains madness, he shares his madness. It has,
What a good friend.
Oh, it has
What a
a
great
little bit
friend.
of everything in there. Every time I play this, it's a big hit. It takes a little bit of time. It's probably about a 2.5 hour game, but it is so satisfying when we're done. You can pick up all the Wonderlandians as allies, and they do so many great things on the board. And they move directly into areas, and they change each war as you go. It is an absolutely fabulous game. Well
You know
designed.
what? I can agree with you on this, is that the miniatures are fun to paint.
They are great to paint.
They were a lot of fun to paint.
They were great. Yeah, that's about it. That's Wonderland's War, and I absolutely adore the game.
I agree. This is one, if I had a list of games I wish I liked more, just because I always say,
Does your wife like this one?
she loves this
Okay,
game.
I
So
can
I
see
play
her
it a
liking
lot,
it.
and it looks gorgeous on the table. The only downside is the amount of time it takes to play it. If they could get a little bit quicker, a little bit zippier, it would hit the table more because it looks beautiful, especially when they're painted.
Well, it is one of
know?
those games you have to
Yeah.
have everybody know that they're going to sit for 2 to 2.5 hours and play the
Right.
game. And if you have that crew, this is absolutely glorious. And every decision is just, it kills you to leave things on that table. And then, the best part is, I didn't even say, when you're in the war, you start pulling chips out of that bag. And like I said, it has that Quedlinburg. Are you going to break that by pulling too many chips? But also you have multiple wars, so do not overpull that bag. It's just fabulous. Oh, it's got everything I love. Pressure, luck, drafting.
I agree.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
great.
Pulling from the bag is the best
It's
thing.
a great. Great game.
All right, so my number 10 is
The 10.
My number the 10. My number the 10 is an open world game, and I just love this game. I just really feel like this is one of the games I get out that just makes me feel good. It is truly open world, and you played it with us.
Oh, yeah?
At our house, yes. And this is...
What did I play?
Western Legends.
Yeah, that's
okay.
And
Great game.
this is... Western Legends is... Zai was higher on my list, which is odd because I like the space theme more than the Western theme sort of thing. But Western Legends, for some reason, shines because we have the 3D printed mountains. We've got everything. And the whole fact that you can literally do anything you want to do. And when it was explained to me, hey, there it is actually, yeah. When it was explained to me, is the fact that you could do anything. Like you can go and you can mine, you can take gold, you can deposit in the bank, and then you can go rob the bank and take the money from it, and it's fantastic. And then you can go rob the train. There's so much you can do in this game, and it feels great. Now, we'll say there are so many expansions in this. I love all the expansions. But I don't put everything in there. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to use. Occasionally, I'll get the train, that you'll rob the train occasionally. Sometimes it's too fiddly if you want to focus on this or that. And have you played this game?
I have played Western Legends a bunch. It is probably in my top 30 games of all time. I love Western Legends. I really do. So, yeah.
It's so good. I will say you need to focus on one track on this because I used to waffle. I want to be neutral. Try both sides. You got to double down on
No,
either
you got to be
good
really good or really bad.
or bad. And then there's some house rules I put in there too because when you're arrested, it's almost game breaking as far as you lose everything. You go back and it's brutal. But
You know what? So this isn't my general type of game, and I said that after we played. I still had fun.
She did.
I still had fun. But it's one of those, I enjoy games where you can choose to just be bad. You're just like, I'm going to go rob that bank, and I'm going to go steal those things, and I'm going to punch you in the face, and we're just not going to have any morals in this.
Joey's the kind prospector down at the river getting gold, busting his back, and then I go over to the river and I rob him blind, and I just keep taking it and running from the law, and that's exactly how I play that game most of the time.
This is poker games in it, though, right?
There are poker games.
I don't play poker. I don't understand poker. Like I've tried. I've had multiple people try to teach me poker. It's
that's
just like beyond me.
Somebody mentioned the expansions bloated it, and that's true. Don't ever play with everything. We did it once with I think 5 people, and it was a horrible time. I had to bring these 2 people back and say, please try it again. I'm so sorry that we should not do that. You need to just choose what you like, because I think in addition to the cards, there's like a saloon. There's all these different things you can do.
So
simplicity is how this shines.
I never actually bought the expansions for it. I thought the game was, and I don't do this with a lot of games. I thought Western Legends was fine on its own at the core, and I left it at it, and I'm like, I do not need anything else for this game. This is a great experience on its own.
Now, the Traveling Trader, I do like, so you should have that.
I would try it with you. But
right,
yes.
so that is my number 10, Western Legends.
All right, my number, the 9, is, yes. Yeah, I'm terrible at poker, someone said in the comments. True. So true. My number 9 is far from poker. This is Reef. I guess it includes cards. That's probably the closest thing to poker that I have on my list. It's just the fact that something includes cards. Reef is one of those games that I looked at and I was like, oh, that's a kid's game. Like, it really looks like a kid's game. And have either one of you played this?
Oh yeah, Reef I've played a bunch.
Okay, you
so
played a bunch.
Reef is in our collection.
I've never played this game.
Okay, so in Reef you have these cards, and the cards give you certain of these little, there's 4 different colored discs, and they give you some of those colors of discs, and you have to put them somewhere on your board. You can put them on top of other things and hide colors. You can put them next to, and then they have something below that's a scoring condition.
Right.
And so that scoring condition usually has nothing to do with the discs that you got. And so they're like unrelated. And so it's a game of being efficient and managing your hand. And you're trying to put everything in the perfect order so that I can get new things for the next scoring card while still having stuff available to score now. And I think I like it so much because you have 3 cards. If I had 8 cards, if I had 10 cards in my hand, I would be overwhelmed. But with this, I can't plan that far ahead, but I can plan a little bit ahead. So it tickles that plan ahead itch that I have that I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be super efficient, but I can also fly by the seat of my pants and just be like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it has that puzzleness. I love, it's great.
Is this a shorter game? How long is it? 60 minutes?
Yeah. like 45 minutes. Yeah.
So Reef came out right around the same time Azul did, and I have purged some of those games from our library. Reef is still in there, actually.
Is Azul still there?
Azul is
Okay.
too, but we really like Reef too. Same thing. It's got a great toy factor, and when you first look at it, like, but the decision is you're like, and it's agonizing sometimes, and it's really good. It's a great, easy game to teach. We love Azul too at the house.
So Joey, you either play a card, or play a card,
Brief.
get the things and score it, or you pick up a card from the lineup. And so, so you have that choice of, you're like, I could keep I could keep up to 3 always in my hand, but at some point I have to play stuff. I can't keep getting things. But a cool card came out. There's really good decisions for it being such a small little game.
Right.
And I really enjoyed that puzzleness.
And there was the commitment to, do I wait for a bigger turn or do I go for the small turn? And that's always agonizing, right?
Yeah.
So I like it.
You can set it up so that you can score cards multiple times. So you're like, ooh, I could make 8 stacks of 2 high purple things. And if I do, I'm going to get so many points. But if you wait till the end of the game, you can only score each card left in your hand once. And so if you wait too long to score these things, like, it's just... There's so many good things in this.
That's a good pick.
This is one of those that I don't play very often because I kept offering to play it with people and they'd look at it and think it was a toy, and so it never came out. But I played it last at the retreat last year. Played it with some cool people. So yeah, it'll come out again and it'll be tons of fun.
Good pick.
All right.
So that's my number 9. The 9.
The 9.
What you got?
All right. My number 9. So as games have gone on, people have taken mechanics, they've narrowed them down, they've made them smaller, they've made them tighter, they made shorter games. And social deduction is one of the biggest ones they've cut down to just basically the social deduction core mechanic.
Whoa.
This game it completely slaps that in the face and says, I want nothing short, I want nothing small.
Is this Blood on the Clock Tower?
This is not Blood on the Clock Tower. This is actually a social deduction game that has an amazing game underneath. This is Battlestar Galactica.
Oh,
okay.
wow. Okay.
Battlestar Galactica, you are on the Battlestar, and some among you are just not good people. Halfway through, less of you were Cylons and not good people. This game has caused more stand-up moments for me, more stories at my table than any other game in my collection. I can almost recollect every single game I've ever played of this. We play it at the retreat annually. It is absolutely amazing. And the tension just builds and builds for about 2 hours. When you finally out the Cylons, you're thinking, well, in most social deductions, the game's over. Not Battlestar Galactica. They just move to a different part of the board and they start coming after you, and it is a solid game at that point. Now we are actually playing a game against each other, and they just keep hammering, and you're just doing everything you can to keep the ship together. It is solid from front to back. Like I said, more stand-up moments than any other game I have in my collection. Love Battlestar Galactica. I make no apologies. I do not want a shorter game. I want Battlestar.
Have you played Unfathomable?
That's what I was just going to ask, actually.
So I have not played Unfathomable. They've taken Battlestar and they've just rethemed it. I would, but it's just one of those things that I don't think I need to do, but I will.
Are you attached to the show?
I had never watched the show until after I had played the game. The game actually made me watch the show. I love the show. Now when I see the characters, I'm like, oh, this is really good. But you do not need to have ever watched that show to play this game and such.
I watched that entire show in like 3 weeks. So it is a vague, blurred memory.
I did the same thing.
I'm like, I know what Cylons are, and I generally know the beginning and the end.
It was one of those shows I watched to get to the end, and I want to watch it again to enjoy the show. So,
have you ever played the game, actually?
I have not. I've played Unfathomable.
As have I,
Okay.
Played Unfathomable.
I haven't.
Roy's sitting over here, he's like, not as good.
I know. I need to do it. Sorry.
No, so Roy says not as good. I can't imagine it could be as good, but maybe it is. But it's maybe it is. But Battlestar
Way to throw me a bone, Rob.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe you're right.
Maybe you're there, Joey.
Okay. All right. So mine is another space game. And this one is from a designer who's been on my list a couple times. It's I do declare. It's John Declare designed this one, and this one is Space Base. Space Base, I was surprised to see how high it was on my list. Mainly because I can play this with my gamer friends and my non-gamer friends. We have a guy in our group, and he doesn't like mini board games, right? This one he will play all the time. To the fact that we sent it to some friends in Nashville, and he was driving through, and he swung by for 4 hours just to play 2 games of Space Base, and kept driving up north where he needed to go. It's like great because it's such a fun game because you're all doing things at the same time, and every time you play, I feel like I do a different strategy. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go heavy on these numbers, and because they're going to get rolled a lot, and maybe I'll win. Or later, you might try to do all the numbers, like spread it out. Or you might get that you win card and just shoot for the moon. Have you played this game?
Oh, I have. I'm not good at it, but I have played it, yes.
And this is another one that the expansions, it's funny how the expansion on all these people are like, I don't know. This one, the Legacy thing, the Shy Pluto, I was fine on. There's a new expansion coming out that is just a full-on expansion, which I'm excited about. But this is really, really enjoyable, and I really like this game a lot more than I thought I would, just because of how simple it comes out and hits the table for me. And you played it as well?
I have. It's not I was like double checking. I was like, it's not my top 100. But the thing that makes a good game for me is that you're invested on other people's turns. And I think that that's really good for downtime.
Right, and that's why, okay, I will say Bad Company. I know I've played Bad Company and Space Base. Somebody mentioned both of those. I do prefer Space Base. I went back there for a while. I liked Bad Company. I was like, oh, this is great. But then I realized I just like the name Spicy Tacos and all that stuff. And go back to Space Base, I think at the core is a better, smoother game.
Better
for
engine.
Me. And I think it's going to last longer.
It's interesting because I still don't know what John DeClaire looks like because I'm not good with
He
faces.
He does not look like you thought he would. I expected some like old prospector coming up.
Yeah.
John
DeClaire. John DeClaire.
And there was like young guy walks up and goes, "Hey, I'm John." And I'm like, yeah, okay.
So I was at MeepleCon, I think the first year it was MeepleCon officially. Or it might have even been another convention. I don't even know. It was some convention a handful of years ago. And someone was playtesting some expansions for Space Base. And I'd always had the opinion I was like, it's really lucky. It just depends on how the dice roll.
Yeah.
I was floored. Like I was creamed. And I assume it was John DeClaire or someone working for him playtesting it. But he was just like, yeah, you want to play Space Base? Yeah, we're trying out this new expansion. We're just kind of playtesting it, whatever. And yeah, I was like, oh, I don't hold a candle to the strategy. So clearly it's not just the dice.
No, there is strategy to it. And
yeah.
I lose this game a lot.
I do too.
But to my defense, I lose a lot of games.
We should all play together and one of us will not lose.
That is correct. Yeah, this is in my collection. I have... the thing about this game is I like it. I have friends who are extremely excited about this game as well. So it does make it to the table when they show up, so I save it for them. So, but it's a good game. Good pick.
Right. So that's my number 9, Space Base.
All right, my number 8 is by... I keep going with it the entire time. Is one of my absolute most favorite designers of all time.
It's called Favoritist.
Favoritist designers of all time. And that is Phil Walker
John
Harding.
DeClaire.
Yes, no. So Phil Walker Harding, I've loved him for years. Absolutely loved him for years. And so my number 8 is Sushi Go.
Oh.
But specifically Sushi Go Party.
Kind of let down on that a little bit.
Yeah?
Did it show?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh my goodness, this game is so cute, and the cuteness factor for me is not always a thing, but apparently it is because I've got multiple very cute games in my top 10. But I love how simple this is to pull out. It is a game that we can just play regularly with our daughter, regularly with our family. We can introduce it to absolutely anybody. I work with a lot of teenagers at church. This is a game I can pull out, and I can be like, we can kind of make it work. Throw in an 8th person or a 9th person. We'll make it happen. We'll throw in some extra cards or whatever. Like, it's fun, it's simple, and this is another one that any day of the week, if you pulled this can out and you were like, you want to play Sushi Go? I'd be like, 100%. Let's play. I got 20 minutes. I got 30 minutes. Let's do it. Let's play it.
I just love games where you can say, you just pull this can out, and we're just going to crack it open. And we're going to play it. It's like, is it this
like
or
tuna.
Forbidden Sky? What is it? Yeah, it's like, okay. So where'd you rank this with, what's the dumpling one that just came out?
Oh, is it Dim Sum?
Oh, Spin Sum for Dim Sum?
Yes.
That
It's a
one?
similar game, right?
It's similar, but it's nowhere near as good.
You have a squishy little...
It's got a very cute squishy thing.
Yeah.
But this one is just so clean.
It is.
The set collection is really good. Every card is useful.
And you do
Every
the
card
party
has a
one
purpose.
or the
party
base?
one, yeah,
Okay,
party one.
all right.
And we have a couple promos for it, but this is one that I honestly thought was going to get expanded more.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
To me, this is the Dominion of drafting games, and I wish that it had.
I agree with
you
that,
know,
though.
I would
Yeah.
take many cans. I'd stack them all on my shelf for food storage, so that you know
Here's
when a
lean into the
hurricane
can
comes,
thing.
I'll just eat all the sushi go, play all the sushi go. Yeah, I also just love sushi. Every time I play this game, I'm like, can we get sushi? Like every time.
I love some good sushi.
It could be 2:00 in the morning, and I'm like, man, it's too late. Everything's closed.
This game is probably the closest game I've come to playing the most that I've never played, actually. For some reason, it's
Really?
like right at the
I gotta
edge.
unpack that sentence.
It's right at the edge of orbit. Right at the edge of orbit.
Smoke.
And for some reason, I just have not played this. But I've come so close to it's like one table over, or hey, let's play sushi. Go, no, let's go grab something to eat or something. I'm like over and over and over
All right,
again.
like you're
Rod,
a sim.
tomorrow. Tomorrow
All
this
right,
is
I will play
happening.
sushi go with
Like
you
how
tomorrow.
Rod
I
feels
will.
like if he's sitting next to a table playing a game, he's almost played the game.
Yes, that's right.
No, there are games
I'm like,
that though. There are 100% games like that you're invested. You're
I'm
like,
like one
I
of
feel
those
like I played
drinks that just kind of taste like lime, right? That's it. So
this. Hint of something.
hint of.
Oh my goodness.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so that's my number 8.
All right. Well, nice pick. Number 8
you.
for me
Thank you.
is I like area control games and I like big epic field games. This next game I'm going to bring up, it has an auction element that just leads straight to the board, and it is right in your face. Wendy, I know you'd hate this, but
Yeah, I
it
was
is.
like, you said auction,
It
and you
is
said-
right in your face, and it is tight, and it is a great game. My number 8 is Cyclades.
Really?
Now, Cyclades, every round, the gods come out. And you and I and Wendy are bidding on these gods. And
Wendy's not playing.
This is fair. Wendy's not playing. But
Two-person
as
game.
we're bidding on these gods, you can bump me by bidding more for a god. But when you do, I can move further down the track and take another god for a smaller price. And it just keeps bouncing around. Those gods, though, come out in different orders every single time. The god who isn't selected moves to the top, and then the other ones, they'll go into a different order. Now, why this is important, if you bid on that first god, you also get access to these cards, which are mythological creatures, which are absolute nukes in the game. There are sailing ships, there are soldiers, and that board is beautiful when you see it in real life. The gods are going at it. There is a Titan expansion where the Titans are striding across the land. It is solid, and it will keep you at the edge of your seat the entire time because you do not know who is going to win this game until generally about the last 2 turns. Many times there's not a runaway leader. We're all very close to the end game, and then it's like we have to stop Joey. But if I'm trying to stop Joey,
In general.
yeah, it's
You
just
win like everything, Joey, right?
I do.
this is a lot of people because this came out around the same time Kemet, and a lot of people love Kemet. I love Kemet. Cyclades, though, of that group is my hands down favorite of the two. I
So I take it
absolutely
Kemet's
love
not higher on
Cyclades.
your list.
What's that?
I take it Kemet is not higher on your list.
Kemet is not higher on my list, actually.
You back in your Kickstarter?
So I did not back the Kickstarter. Remember when we talked about Western Legend and I said that was enough? The first edition with the expansions of
Makes sense.
Cyclades is everything. It's my number 8 a game of all time. I don't see them doing anything in the Legendary Edition. Maybe I'll grab it later, but I don't see them doing any changes that I really need in that
See,
game.
I always said Cyclades, I'm not sure if that's however you...
I mess it up. I've heard Cyclades. I've heard it a few different ways too.
Okay,
So
I always say that game.
yes.
So
I figure it's like Bicycle and Hercules put together.
It's perfect. See?
All right, so my number 8 is, this is one of the ones that surprised me when I put the list together, that it kept rising and rising. It's a new game, and I was like, and it is a Verban, right, I guess is what we're calling them now, just because the fact that it made it in my top 10, and it's a heavy one, and it is Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah. It's not in my 10, but it's definitely in my 100.
Hadrian's Wall surprised me on how good this game is. Yeah. Because I remember, and it was one of those, it shouldn't work as well as it does. I think a game oftentimes should be like a good song that when you get done with it, it's still in your head. Like I remember playing this with people, and then afterwards we just kind of sat there, and the whole night I was just like, man, if I would have done this, if I would have done this, if I would have moved. And the next day when I saw them, they're like, do you want to do it again? And after a 2-hour game or whatever the length of it is, the fact that you want to hit it again that quick, It's so good. The cascading in this is virtually perfect. It's just, you can cascade so well. At the beginning, it's slowly going. Then towards the end, you're rolling everything. Now, I will say, I ignore the gladiators. I played this so many times, I have no idea what they do. I'm like, people are like, hey, what do they do? I'm like, you just don't touch them. It's fine. Just ignore them. They're not there. But it's a whole, and I'm sure they do something cool.
I actually really like the gladiators.
Figures.
You get them to fight until you kill them off. You get like lots of glory and you're like dead, retirement.
But you figured out, I just ignore them the entire time. And people have explained to me. I don't know. But besides the gladiators.
You know the part that I ignore is the little polyomino part?
Oh, really?
Because you can like use other people's polyomino cards or something. I was like, I don't look at other people's cards. We should do something else.
I have played this game twice, and there's still parts of this game I do not know how they work, and I still have a great time.
Like
there were a couple. So I played this once with Chris a couple years ago when it came out or whatever, and then someone at the retreat last year was playing it. And I was like, I think I can teach you. I ended up having to read the entire rule book.
I don't know if I can teach it.
I had to read the entire rule book to then teach it. And I was like, well, I might as well play it now that I've invested this much time in this.
My wife was teaching Twilight Inscription, and I'm like, oh no, I just walked away. And she's like, she done it though.
That's one I still have not played.
It's good. That's my top 20, I think. I think it's up there. But this one, it's 2 sheets, so it's not as bad. But there's a lot going on, and for a Verban writer, what they call them, surprisingly, the depth on this that I can't believe both of you actually really do like. Was it in your top 100?
It was in my top 100, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was very good.
And it would be in yours, probably.
I played it twice.
That
that'd be a stretch for top 100 because I played it twice. I think if I learned it a little bit more, but this is a game you better be playing every few months because if I went back to it like Wendy, I would have to read that rule book again, and I do not want to read that rule book.
Guess what number it is?
40.
You're so close. It's 49.
Oh,
yeah.
It's a good game.
50. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again,
Definitely.
surprising for me, that was my number 8, Hadrian's Wall.
All right, for my number 7. Oh, did you have something to say? You seemed really excited.
No, I like my number 7. I'm
You're
excited.
just so excited
I
about
like my
this.
number 7. So good.
All right, so my number 7 is
excited.
by one of my most favorite designers of all time, Phil Walker Harding.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
here we are
I'm
again.
excited again.
Here we are
This is the
again.
one I wanted before.
I have 2 Phil Walker Harding games on my list.
Full circle.
This one last year was 14, and it's moved down to 7.
Very nice.
Is it a newer game?
It is not a newer game. It is a longtime classic, and the reason why it's moved up to 7 is because it's one I keep pulling out. I keep bringing it out at conventions, keep bringing it out and playing with people and introducing people, and they get excited about it, and then I'm like re-excited about it.
They fun components? Is it a card game?
It's wonderful. It's Baron Park.
Oh,
Baron Park.
I do.
You've never played
I've
Baron
never
Park?
played this. I do
Oh
want
my
to play
goodness.
this one.
We're going to have a Phil Walker Harding marathon tomorrow,
Yeah,
the 3 of
perfect.
us. And have you played, Rod?
I have not played Baron Park. It is right next to Sushi Go at the other table. It is one of those
Always,
same.
right?
I would play Baron Park in a heartbeat.
This is on my
Yep.
list because
It's so fun.
anytime you mention a polyomino game, people say this game.
Yeah, this is one of
This
the
is something to
first
go
ones
to.
that I think about. We
10
played
penny
this.
parks. I'm sorry. That's when people compare to this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
I love
yeah.
10 penny parks.
Yeah, 10 penny parks
yep.
is fine. This is better.
Oh,
I
good.
think this is
Good.
So when you're laying down your polyominoes, you're covering up pictures, and that will determine what polyominoes you get for the future.
Okay.
And so you have to plan ahead because you have to expand out from where you've already placed. And then some of those pictures give you new boards. Some of those pictures give you bigger tiles that have more points on them. Some are just little dinky tiles that you need to fill in spaces. And there's a bajillion different races you're trying to do. So there's like 3 different stacks of decreasing victory point things that are like, hey, have 3 rivers that are all connected in your board, or have 3 of this type of bear in your park. And so you're trying to meet all of these objectives and race for them, but you also filling up an entire board gives you, a 16-point statue, and then that gets cheaper as you go along.
Oh, cool.
So everything is a race, and you can't win it all, and so you're just trying to win the most races while also having the most victory points on your tiles. And so it's just, it's a lot of fun, and the bears are really cute.
It sounds great, and it's like made the joke about Sushi Go, but this is another one of those that just for some reason I haven't hit. But this one is actually in my wheelhouse. I would play Baron Park.
I like the walk hard, and I love polyomino.
It's all that combat that's in your face, you know, the auctioning for gods,
you know how
the bear gods. Yeah. No, I love it, and I love it so much. And this is one, that we had kind of early on in gaming, and it's still in our collection, and I don't see it ever going away.
Do you like polyomino games?
I really like polyomino games.
I do too.
Except in Hadrian's Wall. Those I'm anti the polyominoes in Hadrian's Wall.
Really? Oh.
They confuse. I don't know.
So you avoid that part. I avoid gladiators.
Oh, I make the gladiators fight.
That's crazy.
They fight the gods.
Just doesn't. I don't figure it out.
Yeah, that's my number 7, Baron Park.
That's on my list to play.
Same.
Yeah.
And same thing. We can play that tomorrow too if you want. So I'm good.
It's a big day tomorrow.
I don't think I have any games on TV, so I'm good. So, all right. My number 7 is from one of my favorite designers of all time.
Phil Walker already.
No, not exactly. Eric
Tom
Lang.
Vassell.
Actually, Eric Lang. That's close. But this title is one of those titles that it is a hidden gem that not many people play, but once I introduce them to it, it is an absolute hit each
So it's
time.
not Rising Sun.
No.
So you're right. It is not part of the trilogy. So my number 7 is Godfather Corleone's Empire.
Really?
Oh, this game, I can sit you down with the Godfather Corleone's Empire, and we will play one round. I will teach you the rules within about 5 to 10 minutes. I saw Eric Lang once say that complexity for the sake of complexity is not okay, and it shows in some of his designs. This game is super easy to understand, and once we start playing and we start fighting for New York City, it just plays out, and it's smooth, it's easy, and then the violence occurs. But the good news is this is Mafia.
That's how great sentences end.
Yeah, this is all Mafia. So you will take a lot of damage in this game, and people are going to do horrible things to you, but it is happening to everybody around the table. And as thugs and family members move in, each one influences those parts of the city differently. They're getting you machine guns, they're getting you cash, they're getting you all these things and corruptions, basically. You're working off jobs, there's public jobs, and once you start playing the game, and I tell people when I teach, I say, look, all the machine guns are gone. That's bad. That means somebody's hoarding machine guns, and bad things are going to happen in the city very soon. As you take control of the different districts, you're just exerting more and more influence on them, and whoever exerts the most influence on New York City by the end basically wins. It is simple. It is solid. It is one of my favorite games of all time. And like I said, I could teach you this in 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes, and you'd be like, okay, I absolutely understand how this game works.
Is this like Western Legends where you can be good or bad? Or
no.
No.
This one, when you step onto that board, and the trick to this game is you can extend your turns, and by different ways, and if you can extend your turn, if you can just make your turn last longer than everybody else, because then you just come into that city and you just rain havoc on everybody.
With
and
all
it's,
the machine guns you hoarded.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good.
I want to play this. I enjoyed my plays I had of it. I need to play it more. I haven't played Scarface either, which they say is similar. But,
Have you played Scarface?
I have not yet. I would like to.
It's on your list?
Yeah, it is.
We'll not be playing that tomorrow.
Bodies in the Hudson. That is what everybody says, because that is where you put the bodies, the Hudson Bays there, and you just, and so, I'm not joking, by the 4th round, there are like 20 bodies in the Hudson and stuff. It's so good.
I need the follow-up game to this that's like the crime scene investigator.
Oh, yeah, that would be perfect. Oh, that'd be perfect.
That's the one I'd want to play.
All right, so my number 7 is a game that I really fell in love with. It's probably a couple years old, and it started as a 1v1. You can also do teams. There's type of variations of it, but it is a game with a lot of expansions, and it is by Restoration Games, and it's a quicker...
Fireball Island.
No. It is the Unmatched series. I love Unmatched. Surprisingly, how much I like this. I did put Brains and Brawn in there because that's the new one in Marvel. And I'm not one that always leans into Marvel, but this particular one is very good because the whole thing is you're going to move around and you're just going head to head. Because I've always, growing up, even in comics and stuff, I wanted to see my good guys fight, right?
Right.
But in Unmatched, you can do it. You know, you can go ahead and you can put up the Invisible Man versus Bigfoot. You can then put up Spider-Man versus Bruce Lee. You can go at these things. You can throw T-Rex in there, you know, against the Raptors. And it's really good and it's very unique because each character in this is so different, because as you battle, you're going to put forward different values, and you compare the values to see who wins the battle, of course. But then, like things like Spider-Man has his Spidey sense, where he can know your value before you play it. Other people have very strong values. Now, this is great because it's a shorter game, and it can be even shorter, because I've seen, like, you know, people just get crushed in the first move. But short games, that does not bother me, because a lot of times you will want to run it back. Like if you have somebody playing the T-Rex, the other person's going to lose a lot. But the whole thing is you're going to switch characters, switch strategies. You're like, I'm going to try it again. And it's just, this game is a blast. And the fact that I will tell you, they don't come painted, but they come washed, so they look good as is. And the fact that I've got so many homebrew things, like I've got this John Wick character that his sidekick is a dog, and if you ever kill his dog, everything doubles, and he just starts wailing on you. And it's just, it's fantastic, the stuff they do, and the community around this is great too, as far as the stuff they put out.
It's a really solid game. I like Unmatched a lot. I also, in my collection, I have Epic Duels. I don't know if you've played Epic Duels yet. That is that is and that's the Star Wars version that this grew out of. Unmatched, they took it, they honed it up, and brought it home. And really, it's an 80s kid. We're all Gen X as we move into the design space. It really is. It's like, what would happen if T-Rex fought, you know, G.I. Joe or whatever it is, and it's everything we dreamed of as kids. So and you could tell the designers are around our age and stuff too because of that.
You think of something and all of a sudden they come out with, like, somebody mentioned Cobble and Fog is their favorite. I love that too, because the Invisible Man, he drops those fog tokens. And I mean, how thematic is the fact that he can walk into one fog token, out the other, and it's like,
it's really
so
good.
And Bigfoot just survives by running from you. Yeah, so anyway, everything in here is just, and I hope they can keep it up, because I worry, because every expansion they just keep doing well.
They keep making gold for you.
Yeah, it's great.
So I was surprised. So we have a lot of different collections that Tom has created of different types of games or series of games or whatever. Unmatched had a lot of checkouts at East.
Oh, really?
We have other games, like I was hoping Dominion would get played a bunch, or the Villainous games get played a bunch. They didn't get touched very much, but Unmatched got played a lot.
It does, because it's one of those, end of the night, you can just say, you know what? Hey, let's run through this a couple times.
Yeah.
And you'll usually run it back and switch characters. Yep. So it's good. But anyway, that was my number 7, Unmatched.
Good pick. Good pick.
So my number 6 is from one of my all-time favorite designers, Phil Walker Harding.
Oh, wow.
I'm so excited.
Oh, wow.
Maybe it's the one.
It's only true now,
This is
because
3 in a
there's
row?
3 in a row on my list.
Is this the last one of his?
No spoilers.
That's awesome.
No, this is the last one on my list of his. I have
good.
other all-time favorite designers,
Okay.
but it's funny, when Chris and I had a podcast for a little bit, we did a couple of things, but we did a Phil Walker Harding series, and then we decided we needed a Hall of Fame, and he was the only designer that made it into our combined Hall of Fame.
Just a framed picture of Phil Walker Harding on the wall, big velvet painting of him.
Would never make it in my Hall of Fame.
Oh, Mike's not coming to your
so
house.
many auctions. It's terrible. No, so the game is Gizmos.
Yes,
Finally, you're waiting
yes.
for it. See? It's so good.
Oh, this is my top 20.
Okay, so Gizmos was 19, then it was 9, now it's made it to 6.
Wow.
Once again, these are games, like his
So
games are so
good.
easy to bring out conventions.
Yeah.
And if I don't bring a game out at a convention, I'm not going to get it played at home, because we are constantly playing new games. And so these are games that I get to play multiple times a year. They come to the table because they're quick, they're easy to teach, and people are excited. Like I just taught this a couple times at East, and the engine is so fun.
Oh, good.
Like the little marbles are a great element. I think it makes it stand out. But just the engine of, hey, I'm going to play this card, and because I played a red card, now I can pick any marble I want from the lineup. I'm going to pick a blue marble. Because I picked a blue marble, I can now pick a marble of my choice, and I can pick a random one from the top. Now I picked another marble of my choice, so I picked a black marble this time, which lets me pick another marble from the top. And suddenly you have 5 marbles, and you just ran off this beautiful engine that was so much fun, and you're like, I get to do it all again next turn. It's
So good.
it's so good, and it's so clean.
I really like gizmos as well. This game, though, gives me a lot of ammo to make people really mad at me, because one of my favorite things, I'm probably going to make chat mad right now, is when I play a game like Earth, people are like, what do you think of Earth? I'm like, it's complicated gizmos. Gizmos is that mechanic of that engine and the combinations, and it just ping, ping, ping. But with half the rules of some of these big games and stuff. I love it.
What I love about Phil is that he takes a mechanism and he brings it down to such a basic point, and then he makes it fun.
Yeah,
so it's not just that he makes it basic, but it's basic and it's fun, and I feel like you get to really appreciate what that mechanism does.
It's not work.
And I agree.
Right? Yeah,
this was my number 24. I just looked it up, and it probably will go up. This one I feel good. I will tell you, I played it a couple weeks ago again, and the guy was playing with us. Hey, how many marbles? I said they're all the same amount, and he counted, and there's 12 of one, 13 of another, and I've missed a lot of marbles. So I reordered marbles for this because I play it that much, because it's just. You're right. There's something about reaching in there and pulling one out, and there's a push your luck mechanic. And somebody mentioned you played on BGA, but it's the tactile feel of grabbing those marbles and having your corral. And
hearing those marbles scrape together, that noise or whatever. Yeah,
so Chris and I interviewed Phil on our podcast. So back when we lived in Vegas, we had to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning for him to get off work in Australia so that we could interview him. It was the best time of day for all of us. It was so weird. 3 a.m. was rough. But I remember him. We were asking him about gizmos, and he said that it was a CMON thing. That's why they had the marbles. Is because CMON produced it, and they're like, you need something.
That's
fair. It was originally going to be cards, and if it was cards, and so you'd have one deck of cards and another deck of cards and another deck of cards, it wouldn't be the same game that it is.
No, I
the
agree.
Marbles.
No,
the
there's
production
a lot.
mattered so much for the gameplay.
It's
for the feel.
It's a good pick. Good pick.
Thank you.
I'm glad
you
had
agree.
one more chance. Okay.
So that's my number 6, gizmos.
All right. Number 6 is going to come with a bit of a disclaimer. I apologize for this. Let me explain.
It's D&D, isn't it?
No, it is not.
It is family friendly. Right?
Was a massive fan of this game. This is the game that brought me back into gaming. I was a huge fan. I got to be friends with the designer, and the designer said, would you like to work on this game with me? And over the course of, I guess, 15, 16 years, I've worked on every single iteration of this game that's come out so far. So, yes, I do design work for this, but it was a love of mine first, and I still love this game to this day. My number 6 is Heroescape. Heroescape, when we talk about...
I just learned this about you today. I had no idea.
When we talked about everything in the toy chest you loved as a kid, this is it. This is dragons versus orcs on dinosaurs versus Roman legion versus the 10th Massachusetts coming down. And when you build it, you see those tiles, they stack like Legos. My children and I would make massive maps with overhangs and castles and jungles and pine trees, glaciers, volcanoes, everything you could imagine. It's a war game, but it is easy enough for you to understand. Like my kids played it when they were 7, 8 years old, and we would play the advanced version. Everybody understands this game. It is a dice chucker. It is true Ameritrash. People talk about, the problem is the setup time. Tom talks about that. I love the setup time. We have such a good time building.
Because you're playing with toys the whole time?
You are. And like I said, it is amazing, all the units that you can see in the picture there. There's ghosts versus vampires versus aliens. It is all, anything that you loved as a kid is in there. It's all 80s movies and just slammed together. And it's called the Battle of All Time. Absolutely love it.
I've never played this. That table presents look great, by the way.
Oh, that is nothing compared. When Hasbro used to come in, they used to set up a room as big as this with these massive maps all over the place. And people would just run to that booth. It was the best presence at Gen Con back in those days. It was just amazing. I really love this game. Renegade just picked it back up. Actually, Renegade just picked it back up. Maybe someday I have no idea what that means for the design team off of it and stuff, but I absolutely love this game. So it's been a family favorite, and I've made so many friends. A lot of people don't know the Plaid Hat guys. They all were designers on this game to start with and stuff. That's where all the plaid hat came out of as well. So everybody grew up out of this one. So good time. Love this game.
I do want to play this one.
Fun little bit of history.
All right. So my number 6 game is a, I don't know, campaign dungeon crawl style feel, and it is one that kind of bumped Gloomhaven a lot further down the list, and a reason I haven't even tried Frosthaven yet. And this is one that, because you have that same feeling in scenario-based, and it is a boss battler, it is glorious, and it is Oathsworn. Oathsworn is perfection in a box. It's gorgeous. I mean, obviously the minis are incredible. And this was an impulse buy. I bought at Gen Con last year. I missed a Kickstarter, and they had, I think, a couple left, and I jumped in, and somebody in my gaming group said, hey, if you buy it, I'll paint them all. This was a year ago, and he's still painting them all, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Now, this one's cooperative, right?
it is cooperative.
That's the thing is, I think I would enjoy this because I do tend to enjoy dungeon crawls with their cooperative.
Yes.
And so...
This right here,
Yeah.
but the whole thing is, and I mean, look at that. Look at that right there. You've got a huge rat with little rats on his back, and they come down, they go around, and every game on this, it goes different because it's not app driven, but you use the app. And first of all, the voice actor they get is somebody from, I think, Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, and he's amazing.
And you make different decisions. We played as somebody who played before, and we made a different decision to let a guy die and then go, and just the forking paths at the end. It's so incredible when you reach where you're going to go. There's so much game and so much story in this. You feel so invested, and it's not one of those, like, some games have a lot of story, but you read and it's so long and bloated. And the whole fact that, you know what, sometimes little is more. Give me story, but get it concise. We can keep the game going. And that's what Oathsworn does.
So
good. Because I'm big about having theme, having music playing in the background. When you have that voice going, you're sitting there. This is immersive. This is perfection in a box. And this is wonderful. This is my number 6 favorite game of all time, and it is Oathsworn.
Does that mean the next 5 are also perfection in a box?
This one, as far as dungeon crawl, this one, you know, I can see it going up. But again, I haven't played it enough to put it to the top. That's the only reason.
Okay, so
pull
it up
later,
further.
I think it's going to go higher.
When I started my disclaimer that some games I haven't played enough to put in my top 10, this
That's
and a
one of
couple others are there. This, I've only played a couple times. I had the best time playing this game. I love the story. The story is amazing, and then the boss battle it's just so tight. I have an all-in Kickstarter coming to my house in the next couple of months of this. I'm going to paint it, and I am going from front to back with this game. I will play the entire campaign through on this. It is just so, every choice you make in that city influences how you enter that boss battle. And it's like, oh, maybe you picked up allies, or maybe you didn't, or you picked up some extra armor along the way. And when you get in that boss battle, it just, all your choices mattered. It's so good.
Yeah,
So
and Jacob's
good.
actually in the chat who is painting my minis. Thank you. But when we played Aegon's Trespass, that just made me want to play Oathsworn.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's great. So, all right, that's my number.
Well, that's exciting.
6, Oathsworn. Maybe you'll play it.
Sweet, maybe I shall.
It's good.
Ciao. That was my number 6.
All right, my number 5 is by another one of my favorite designers, but not Phil Walker Hardy this time. I know, disappointing. He's done now. This is Shem Phillips. Shem Phillips, Sam McDonald's, and this is Paladins of the West Kingdom. So they did Hadrian's Wall, which is on my list. In fact, I think most of his games are in my top 100. Most of the ones, most
clearly
of his
this is your
West
favorite of the
Kingdom,
series.
North Sea. This is my favorite. This is my favorite out of all of his.
Okay.
It does a little bit of what Hadrian's Wall does, of where you have workers and you place workers out, and as you place them out, you get more workers so that you can do more things, and so you have a round system and stuff. But there's just ways to get more stuff. And so you're like, oh, sure, I start with like 5 or 6 workers. I can do a lot of cool things in this round. And it just, if you can balloon it and you can set it up, you can get some really cool turns. And I really love a lot of the ideas of how you score points in this. So there's a variety of different buildings, and you need different levels of flags. You're basically upgrading your flags so that you can do higher levels in each of these colored buildings, but they all do something a little bit different. You know, you could convert people and you get some cool bonuses. or you could slaughter the same people and you get other bonuses that are different.
Perfect.
And
so it's area control.
Yeah, exactly. No, just much.
Maybe you would like Godfather. I don't know.
You know, it's possible. But there's a lot of different things. There's some buildings you can put out that make all the other buildings cheaper.
Okay.
And so you're like, cool, I want to make killing people cheaper, so I can do that now.
Cool.
It takes less workers.
So
there's enough of that engine building I enjoy, plus the extra growing that you can have some really cool combo turns. And then every time that you're putting out buildings, you're getting stuff. They'll just give you different stuff. And so it's so much fun, and you can set things up and you just make it great. So wonderful.
I want to play this.
Same. I love all the games. And Architects of the West Kingdom is in like my top 30.
Yeah.
So I imagine this isn't far off for me either. But same thing. One of those I need to play. Obviously, I play some of these other. These other ones take so much of my time, but I would play this as well too.
Well, this will take a little bit longer than the Footwalker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
By an hour or two. But no, this one. It's just so much fun. So much fun. So yeah, highly recommend it for anyone who hasn't played it.
Okay. All right. My number 5 is the last of my area control games. Not all of them were area control games, but this is one more area control game. I mentioned earlier, Eric Lang is one of my favorite designers.
So
this is my favorite of the trilogy. Any thoughts?
You're a Blood Rage kind of guy, right?
I think.
Go ahead.
I was going to say no, it's the other one. What did I mention
Rising
earlier?
Sun?
Rising Sun.
You would be correct, Wendy.
Rising Sun over
I
Blood
do
Rage.
love Blood Rage, but I
The
think
miniatures are
Rising
prettier.
Sun.
They are pretty.
I mean, they're also gross, but-
agree.
Rising
Yeah.
Sun, when we sit down and you and I start making those truces, and then everybody's kind of figuring out who you want to pair up with, and then you're taking your actions. But if you don't pair with anybody, it's not the end of the world. You can still win this game, even if you can't negotiate. They kind of overblew the negotiation. It matters a little, but not as much as they said.
Yeah.
But then this game has the actions where when I play an action, we all benefit from that action. The only thing is, me and my partner, who I made a truce with, we benefit a little bit more. You just keep going around, you play these actions through the season, and when you're done, it is all-out war all through Japan. There's all sorts of great big mythological monsters coming in on the map.
I do love that.
Oh, you can.
It's a spectacle.
It is.
No, but just seeing it at conventions when I had no idea what it was, I was like, what is that giant game with those huge miniatures?
The soldiers are moving on the
Yeah.
map, the priests are coming in, and maybe they're going to the kami, the gods, basically, to give you extra powers when you do it. Everything is happening in there, and then you go to war. And once you go to war, you put a little screen up in front of you, and there are 4 different parts of war, and you start bidding for different actions in that war. You may just decide to completely commit suicide with your entire army and take points for the entire thing, yielding that territory to your opponent, but you're just gathering victory points. Or maybe you took the poets who sing about the battle afterwards and get the points. Or you pull in Ronin, who are just like mercenaries. It is such a solid little combat system. It's easy to understand. And it just goes through 3 seasons, basically, and then you end up at the end. There are tons of cards for this too. So through the seasons, you can play all sorts of different cards, all sorts of different creatures. You will never hit everything in Rising Sun when you play through.
This is probably my least favorite of the trilogy, only because I haven't played it enough.
That's fair.
You know, I love to play, but I only played it once or twice. And you need it more than that to get a feel of it, because I got crushed.
Oh yeah.
Both times.
And you can get crushed, but hopefully, it's not one you can come in new and play. But if people are really good at it, you can. Yeah. So, but people who play Rising Sun, there are people who play it a lot, but. Absolutely love the game. It's smooth. It's easy. Again, it's Eric Lang. He just does not make complicated games. He makes games that you can understand, you can get to the table, and I can teach and have a blast playing it. But there's so much in every choice with his games. I really love them.
I got to paint the Dice Tower copy of this, and
Oh,
that
did
was
you?
a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of miniatures.
My copy's all painted too, and
It's a
I
lot.
It was one of my favorite paint projects, just because it's feudal Japan and there's so many beautiful colors and such. And with the big oni that step out on the field, I love painting this and I love playing
Mine's
it.
painted. They're all painted gray, so they all look the exact same, so just don't question it.
Yep.
That was an active choice, right?
It is.
So much work you put into it.
All right, my number 5 is, you know what, it's probably the simplest game on my top 10. Let me look through here. And it is overproduced. And it is a newer game, and it is a huge table hog and shelf hog and everything.
Is it a Rome game?
It is actually from Rome. It's more before Rome. It's more the foundations that Rome was built on.
Okay.
It's Foundations of Rome.
Oh, I guess
Such a good song.
What? Did you see how he did that?
Yeah.
So good.
Foundations of Rome is so good. Again, one of those that is, people will tell me, oh, it's overproduced. You could do this with tokens. You could. But look at those buildings, please. Let's just take a moment and bask in that.
It's
those
beautiful.
are washed. Is this your copy? You got the washed ones?
No, but it's on my list to do. But I stuck those little tokens on first. I tried to pull one of them off, and I'm like, that's not happening. So someday it'll be washed. But
do you have this, Rod?
I have the washed copy too.
Okay.
So I haven't.
Do you have any desire to paint those buildings?
No, it's beautiful
I think
washed.
it's perfect the way it
the
is.
wash is the way to go. The table, it's again one of those that is great for any gamers, beginning or advanced gamers, and it's a little mean at times. I think I mentioned before how we were playing with a group of people and had a couple that had broken up, and the hate drafting was real.
Oh, yeah.
When you had someone was going to play at the Coliseum and someone else was like, I'm going to drop a fountain right there. We're going to put that. And it's so fun just to kind of build that city and to see it grow. And it's one of those, at cons it's great because it's always checked out. I don't know, is it checked out a lot at the East or West?
Yep.
And there's always one on the sharing shelf too, which is crazy, that people always bring for that. But you walk up and you look at it, and anyone can jump in and learn this game. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful game. And again, the washed ones look great.
Have you played New York 1901?
No. I know your husband loves that game.
So that's a game that Chris and I love, and
Yeah.
it has very similar elements to it, where you're collecting land plots and you're claiming them, and then you're building buildings, you're demolishing and making them bigger and better and stuff.
Right.
And so it's interesting because my favorite out of the two is New York 1901.
Oh wow.
But I 100% understand why people love this.
Yeah.
And I do feel like the overproduction is what made it stand out. And if it didn't have that, if it was just tiles, I don't think it would have made a splash.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that it would not be nearly as large. Yeah, but all right.
It's an easy game too. It's a fairly simple game, and the beauty of it, on your tray as you're taking your buildings off, it shows you how to score the buildings right there on the tray.
It's so good.
Like, you can explain this game in a few minutes. I play this with Bonacore once in a while, and I will hate draft him till there is just left and right. I love hate drafting in this game and just making it brutal.
Where am I? But but no.
You're like, this is a nice co-op game. We're all building up a lovely city.
So anyway, that was my number 5, overproduced but wonderful. Foundations of Rome.
So my number 4 last year was Airlines Europe. This one, so my top 5, there were some changes, right?
Okay.
I think last year, Paladins was 6. This one that I'm going to say now was my 5. We're on 6 or we're on 5?
We're on 4.
We're on 4.
We're on 4. Yeah, so 4 was 5. And then 4 was Airlines Europe. So now Airlines Europe is like 11, I think, or something like that. But my number 4 is Destinies. Specifically Myth and Folklore is my favorite, but I really like the first one as well. The second one was fine. But Destinies is such a good game. Have either one of you played this?
I have. I'm seeing if it's on my list. I don't know if it is because I haven't played it enough.
Did you love it?
I loved it. I have not played it enough. I really want to.
Have you played it, Rod?
I have not, but this is straight in the wheelhouse.
Okay, forget all the other Phil Walker Harding games. We're gonna play this tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It's so good, and every time I look at this game, I love this the way that I love cooperative games where you're exploring together. But it's not cooperative, it's competitive.
Does that bother you at all, or do you like that?
You know what? I didn't like it the very first game I played it, and it just grew on me. I think that it makes it a more interesting game because it's competitive and everyone is racing for objectives. it creates this tension. So you're not just like willy-nilly exploring and then the game is making bad stuff happen. But instead you're racing each other. And you're paying attention on other people's turns because you're like, oh, you're doing a thing over there and I don't think it has anything to do with what you want, but it's something I want. So I really hope that you don't complete that because you're going to get something that only kind of helps you, but it'd be really good for me.
Yeah.
Or it could be one of your objectives and I'm like, no, I want to get there first because you're fighting for it and we're fighting for the same things. And so I just think that if it was cooperative, it would have less tension in a not as good way. So I just think the tension is good. The storyline, it makes me feel like I'm in a video game. Like it includes the app. And you're literally like talking to people. You're making decisions.
Right.
You're taking these skill checks, which I'm not always all for skill checks, but the way that they do it, the way that you increase it, and you've got these little discs on your board, it determines how many dice you roll and how many successes you need and like those kind of things. And so it's one of those that like, I'm okay with the dice in this game. I'm okay with the skill checks. And I'm okay that certain things are harder to do. Certain things are easier to do. And there's different things that I'm really good at versus other things. And you can get all these items that can make you better at stuff. And so it's just, it has so much story and it has so much theme. And the stuff that you explore, it's just, a lot of it's not what I expected storyline-wise. It's just so rich. Nice. And so I love it. It's so good. Yeah, you have to play Rod.
I've heard nothing but good. I think of all the games you've mentioned so far, this one is probably where we cross the streams the most in this and such. And I'm surprised I haven't played this. I wanted to play. I've wanted to play this one. Everybody talks about this game, how great it is. It's just one of those I have not had the opportunity. Well, yeah, we can put all those other games on the shelf. We can play Destinies, and I'm all for it. So
I feel like we were spoiled because we got all the expansions all at once, and Chris and I plowed through them. And I feel like I've just been sitting here waiting, like, where's more? Where's more? Okay, and I've even replayed some, and there's still more to explore because you can't do everything.
So I mentioned how I feel it replaced Seventh Continent. Because I remember getting into that and then playing this, I'm like, this has that story feel, you know?
Yeah.
And
I like some Seventh Continent. I like some Seventh Continent.
I don't remember what game you had said, Joey, but you talked about how, like, one of your games had good story, but it wasn't excessive. Yeah, it was one. Yeah. It wasn't excessive. That's how I feel like this is.
That's how I felt, too. I only did a tutorial and one other one, but I felt the same way.
Yeah, it's just enough that you're, like, super invested, and it's like you have an overarching story that you're working on, and you've got your own little player goals and story or whatever that you're working on, which is not a lot of text. And then each interaction is really like you jump down into like a single conversation. And so instead of having like, all this stuff happened, but you're like, here's a real conversation you're having with these real people and you're making real decisions, and then we're going to move back out.
Right. That's
and so I just really like that it like zones in just the right amount. Yeah. So
I agree. This is a good.
That's Destinies.
Oh, that's exciting. That is.
Game. I really want to play this.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Let's go play it now.
All right.
Get the rest of the time.
All right. My number 4. I told you I came back into gaming in the early 2000s. And this was one of those games I picked up right away because this was exactly in the wheelhouse from where I left off in the 90s playing games. Loved the first edition. And then they came out with the second edition. And the second edition was even better than the first edition. It is better than the third edition they came out with. This is an amazing, massive dungeon crawl. Fantasy Flight later came out with an app to drive the whole thing. This is Descent second edition.
Okay.
There are 100 heroes to choose from, all different. And every single one of them plays different. And the dungeon is just flooding with monsters, and there is so many monsters, so many things they do.
Creepy.
And these are all scenarios. So this is not a campaign. This is back before every game had to be a campaign. You could play this game, and you could play the scenario. Now you're going to sit there for 3-4 hours playing it, but it is
I'm not going anywhere.
A single scenario. The app is amazing. You can get it right on Steam, and you are just clicking along, and as you're moving through, it's telling you exactly what happens. You don't have to play it that way. You can have an overlord who runs the whole game. I prefer the app. I want us 3 to go against the puzzle and go after the puzzle together. I really, really love this game. I've got 3D terrain. I've replaced everything with 3D terrain for it and such. It is so good. It feels desperate. This game, it just, as those halls crowd with spiders or the bosses show up, and it just keeps pushing on you. And there's so many ways to customize your characters, make them go. We just played this for, I can't even tell you how many hours I have invested in this game. It is one of the great all-time dungeon crawls. It's fabulous. I can't even, I get really excited about this one.
This is one that probably if I got more plays in, I love the way it looks. The way it plays.
It's so good.
And you said you like second better than third.
So I tried third edition. I was enjoying it. But okay, so I meant to say that when we were talking about this. One of the things that second edition does is I get a bigger sword or I get better armor, I add more dice to the pool, to the point where I start rolling these handfuls of dice to see what's going to happen.
Third or second?
Second edition.
Okay.
Third edition is all handled with like one dice, and then the computer basically generates what you did.
Don't like that.
And it just really, the story wasn't there, which it was more of a campaign. Third, I still play it, but second edition is by far my favorite edition of all time. And you get powerful, but so do the monsters in this game too. So it's equally matched.
That's so fun when games do that.
Oh yeah,
when you're just like, oh, I'm so strong.
So
I gotta do everything.
I can't tell you how many times you will crawl out the door with 2 life left, and you blew a hole through a room, and you and your friends made one last dash. You used your last actions to make those moves, and you're bloody, but somehow you're like, if we had spent one more turn there, we were dead. And it's it's so good. So good.
Or in the zombie side, it's like, you know what? I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah,
go on without me. Yeah.
That's a good pick. All right, so my number 4 replaced a game that was on my probably top 10 for a while, and ever since this game came out, it made this game show its age, and this game has fallen, and the other game I think is out of the top 50, and it is a.
Yeah, let me just peek at your list and
no peeking. So this is a hidden movement game, and it replaced Fury of Dracula, which I love. Fury.
I bet you I know.
But this is
mind management.
Mind management.
That's what I thought.
Man, mind management is so good. To the point, let me tell you this about mind management. At Gen Con, I thought, I don't need the deluxe, I'll get the normal one. And then we got the normal one, we got home, we thought, I need the deluxe. So I messaged the designer, he's like, I only sell them at conventions, we're in North Carolina. So I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, look, you can get a ticket, and you can go up there for a day and just grab this. We told the designer, we hold him, he's like, no, dude, okay, I'll send you one, just stop. So we ended up getting one, but it's so good. This is us playing mind management. We end up, on the day of the Super Bowl, we started it, supposed to go watch Super Bowl and end up just playing this all day. And you just play through it because it is 60 minutes. Fury is long. Fury is epic. You know, Fury of Dracula is an epic game. It is that feel it should be. Sometimes it ends too early. But it's an epic feel of hunting Dracula. But this one is 60 minutes and you've got the one person who moves it, but it's got a mechanism that a few games have, but it makes winning bittersweet. Because when you win, the person that loses then gets to open a pack to give them an advantage in the next game. And it's kind of like the perfect thing that great TV series do. At the end of every series, they do this little teaser to make you go like, you know what? I got to watch the next one. And that's the way each game of this is. Once you get to the end, you're like, oh, this card. Guys, let's just run it back one more time. We got to try this. And you're like, this is great, and you keep running through it. And it doesn't really overcomplicate the game. Sometimes they do, and then later when you come back and play it again, you can decide what to pull in and pull out. This one surprised me because it was based on a graphic novel, I guess, which I had no interest in or hadn't watched, or read, and I guess it's great. But again, I was like, I don't know, IPs, I think we talked about this before, IPs make me worried. Did they not really focus on the game? Is this trying them just to sell their graphic novel? And I still haven't read the graphic novel because the game is so good. Oh yeah, Fury was 69 for me. See how so it dropped that far.
Okay.
And it just, thanks Jeremiah, it just drops that far because this game, you get 95% of the feels in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
You do. And it seems like, so I played this a few times. Mike DeLisio used to champion this game. He's the one who taught it.
Is this at number 1 or 2? Or it's pretty high on Mike's list too.
But it seems like it seems like at the end of every game, I've got it narrowed down. If I'm the bad guy or the good guys, it's narrowed down to just a few blocks. You're close, and so those last few turns are tight, and everybody's sweating. Where is he? And the bad guy is running because it is narrowed in on what's happening. I actually want to read the graphic novel based off this game because it is just really fascinating. The whole moving through the city, using your psychic powers. Every player has their own individual power too, which is great. And you feel like your character's actually doing stuff to help as you do. Right. So it's a lot of fun. I do like mind management a lot, too.
I like that a lot. So I'm interested to see the Great Machine. I have played that a couple times. I don't get the same feeling out of that. I enjoyed the game, though. I think we'll review that later on the channel. But yeah, I think this is a very unique, and this will probably stay in my top 10 for a long time.
Yes.
So that's my number 4.
Good game.
Mind management.
Number 3.
Phil Walker Hart.
It only gets better from here.
Oh, yes.
No, however, this is by another one of my favorite designers.
John DeClaire.
Who was also on my top 10 list, Alexander Pfister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've got Tiber the Builder, which is this tiny little Pfister game.
Okay.
We're going big.
And we have Boone Lake, which is a big, wonderful Pfister game. Yeah, this was one that Chris played with me just because he was like, oh, let's review this. Maybe we'll like it. And I played it, and I did terribly at it. I was terrible at it. Yeah. So this game has a ton of different resources. You have this little canoe track, and you've got resources, and you're like, oh, I move my canoe forward, and wherever your canoe sits depends on what resources you have, but to reset them to get back to get the previous resources, you have to pay $1 and whatever. So it's got this whole resource thing. So like, these are resources. But also cards are resources, and money are resources, and I didn't wrap my brain around that initially until halfway through the first play of the game. I was like, oh, I get it.
Bing.
I get it. Because you get this hand of 7, 8, 10 cards, whatever. You have a bunch of cards and you're like, oh, I want to build all of these. These are wonderful. But cards are a resource. And so you're constantly getting cards and you're constantly chucking them for things.
I love those decisions.
And so it's so hard to be like, I want everything. I can only keep a few. And you have to sometimes spend cards to build cards. And then the action selection is just absolutely fascinating. So it's one of those games that you get a bigger benefit, everybody else gets a benefit on your turn. So the downtime isn't bad, and that's tough with a heavy game, that there's usually a lot of that downtime. So basically what you're doing is there's these little tiles, and they all have little actions on them, which makes it really easy to teach. You just go down all the actions and you teach the game. But you say, hey, I want this action, it's at this certain level, you get the benefit, everybody else takes a benefit, and then you take that action, you put it at the bottom. And so if somebody else wants to take that action within the next 2 turns, it'll be more expensive, or they'll be minus victory points. And so you want to take the actions that are up high so that you don't have the negative victory points, but also if someone just took the action that you really wanted, you can still take it. You just have a little bit of negative.
That's always good. That's always good.
And this is one of those games where you can't do everything, but you can do a little bit of everything if you want, or you can do a whole lot. And the end of the 4 main rounds, there's a big scoring. And everybody scores the same 4 objectives. However, they score them at different levels or different amounts. And you have a specialty one that you can get double on.
Oh, nice.
And so throughout the whole game, you're trying to decide. They get more expensive as the game goes. So you're like, okay, if I invest in cows early, I can get that cow one for real cheap, score those points. It's done. I don't have to invest in cows more. But I have to invest a lot more the second round in roads or in something else, So it changes, it grows with you throughout the game, and there's so much to do. And the incomes are fun. It's one of those you remove stuff from your board and it shows income. So the more you put out, the more you get. There's engine building, there's multi-use cards. It's like every mechanism that I love in a package that is Pfister. And it's beautiful.
Nice. Sounds great.
I haven't played this.
I have not. This is newer, correct?
It's a couple years old, yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So this is same thing I haven't tried, but it sounds great. I love when those actions, like when it hurts you to throw stuff away, but and everything feels.
That pains me though.
When there's 10 things you want to do, and so I like those kind of games too.
So last year when we were doing our top 10 games of the year, This didn't get played at the Dice Tower until that year, but technically on BGG it was the previous year.
Gotcha.
So I couldn't put it on that list, which made me so sad but it's on my top 100. It will get love for a long time. It was 11 last year. So that was the thing, as a brand new game to me, it made 11 on my list last year.
Wow.
That's how good it was, and now it's 3.
And how long is the game about? 90 minutes?
It's probably 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a couple hours. It's not short. It's not short. It's I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play a heavy Euro. Not super heavy, but I'm going to play a thinky good solid. Euro.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I want to go play that right now too.
Very nice. Yeah, that's how I am
so
when I'm talking about these. I get excited too about this stuff. So it's exciting.
Yep. So that's my number 3, Boon Lake.
All right. My number 3, like I told you, I'm an 80s kid. This game is one of the most thematic games I've ever played. It actually gives me angst to play it. It is an amazing story. The game unfolds, and it is all being driven by an app. And as it's being driven, it just lures you further and further into this demented horror. But it's not scary horror.
Is it Mansions of Madness?
Oh, it is Mansions of Madness, second edition.
This is good.
So there are about 25 scenarios on there that you can play, and every one of them is a blast. You are running through mansions. The last one I played, no, actually it's not the last one I played, but I just played one where you're on a train and you're stuck in another dimension, and as you're moving the tiles, the platform shows up next to the train. It stops.
That's so good.
People are out on that platform trying to get the things you need to win the scenario, but the train's pulling away and the tile is sliding down the side of the train while there's dimensional shamblers in the train tearing everybody else apart. The heroes are amazing. It's the grave digger. It's possibly the priest. It's a child or something with some special powers. And it just tells and weaves a story, and you are in this together, and you are watching things come apart in this game. It just slowly pulls you in, and it just keeps beating you down, but you're also doing amazing things. If you ever, every phase, you have a hero phase, and then you have a mythos phase. During that mythos phase, there is a good chance, just from the things happening around you, that you are starting to go insane. And if you go insane, your win condition will actually change from everybody else's. It could still align, but it may be something totally different. So I'm like, Joey, I need you to go get the Jaguar statue. And you book left and run down and grab a rifle. And I have no idea why you're doing that. It literally, like I said, causes me angst to do it. The app has great sound as the doors open.
It does.
And it just keeps giving and giving and giving. I have everything for this game, and I have all the scenarios, and I absolutely adore it. Adore this game. It is peak storytelling. It is an absolute example of what you can do with app integration into a game.
I agree.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
This is what I wanted from Eldritch Horror when I first played Eldritch Horror, because the storyline is cohesive, and so you get that rich writing, and you get that cohesive storyline, and it unfolds. Yeah.
This was what I mentioned, games that I should play more to make it on my list. This should have been on my list, I think.
It's such.
This is one that I missed it. Like this came out and we played it at our board game cafe, which was a mistake because the box was always trashed.
Oh yeah.
Just everything was a mess, so we had to spend an hour to organize it and then multiple hours to play it. And so we played the first scenario twice, and then we never played anything else.
Oh,
so if we had owned it, I would have ripped through this thing.
Some of the scenarios are an hour and a half. There are some 4 and 5 hour scenarios in there too.
It's good.
It's just so much fun. It's
all right.
Lovely.
So my number 3 is a fantasy game that I saw on a table, and I thought, you know what? This is what I feel like a game as a kid I'd want to play. It is a 4X game. It is sprawling. You'll need a couple of tables to put it together. And this is Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
I've actually played this.
Have
I played
you?
this at RoyCon.
Which
is just Roy's birthday.
Yes.
Some friends over.
Roy does champion this game a lot, which I don't think I've ever played with Roy, by the way. But this is a great game in the fact that you choose your faction, whether it's elves, and dwarves, undead, whatever. And the great thing is when you get those mercenaries out there and the things you can do, like I remember the assassin who can just go in and you just kill a character. And the guy's like, do I roll? It's like, nope, he just kills you. And it's so great as far as being able to battle it. And it's fairly quick, too. You know? I can see this next year with another 4X game. Last Light is coming out, which I can see that kind of pushing us down a bit more because it does play quicker, gives the same feeling. But this right here, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, it's so good in the way it does everything. I have never played with the 6 players, I think, when you get like the merfolk and the wing folk and all that. I haven't done that. But it's such an epic game, and all of mine are painted.
Oh, nice.
Luckily, they came painted. But this one just has that great feeling of 4X wonderfulness. And funny enough, I didn't know Roy loved this game so much until starting here at the Dice Tower, and he loves this game apparently too. But great minds think alike.
Yeah, this is a great game. I own everything for it. My buddy Chad actually designed all the miniatures for it, and they're great. Fun. The miniatures, they're just like, they're really so much fun. And this is epic scale war. You're coming at me in a boat with your lion people, but meanwhile I'm in an airship, a dragon airship flying across the ocean, and I'm going to drop bombs on you, Joey.
Do you guys really like that card mechanism for the battling?
Oh yeah,
it's almost rock paper scissors like.
Correct. It is good.
It's really good.
That's interesting.
All right, so that's my number 3 game of all time. Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
All right, my next up is Feast for Odin. This is one that has been on my list for ages. I think it was...
Feast for Odin.
Yep, you got it.
Oh, wow. Came right out swinging.
Last time I played this was for Mother's Day. I needed to play a game that was a game I love that wasn't a new game. And so for Mother's Day, I was like, Chris, can we just play this, please? Feast for Odin. It's been on my list forever. It's been one of my favorites forever. And it was a game that Chris and I picked up for $40. It was huge.
Nice.
Some guy had played it with whoever he plays games with, and they weren't interested in it. And so he sold it for us for dirt cheap. And we're like, we'll buy it, we'll review it, and we'll resell it for $40. That was our plan. It has not left our collection. It won us over. It's huge. It's epic. There's so many choices. And I just think this is Uwe Rosenberg at his best. A lot of times his games, after you've played them a few times, they feel the same. You're like, okay, there's just a few differences, but the general strategy is the same. This, you can just explore anything. Hey, go raid some islands. Go explore some islands. Go do more things. And there's polyominoes. I love polyominoes.
I do too.
You can upgrade stuff. It's just, there's so many wonderful things and so many choices. I played this game 15, 20 times. You know what I mean? I played it so many times. And for a big game that takes 3 or 4 hours, me playing it that many times, that's impressive. You know, that's very impressive. And the fact
box
that
is huge.
Yeah, the fact that I can come into this and I can still be like, I'm gonna try something different. I love that. I love that so much. So that's my number 2, Feast for Odin. Beautiful job.
So this game, again, I think we've crossed the streams. This is one I play. Once in a while I'll play Feast for Odin. If you're going to make me play a game like this, just give me the theme and make it, it actually has a little bit of theme and it feels like that, the Viking saga and such. I do enjoy Feast for Odin. It's not just glued, I mean, of course it's glued on, it's a Euro. But it's not so loosely glued that it just falls apart under the hood. Right. I do like Feast for Odin a lot too, and that polyomino, that's just so good. It is, you're building out your little map, and you get there's different like bonus spots on your map for cover. It's good. It is good.
The best.
Rod.
All right, number 2. I have told you about one of my favorite designers, Eric Lang. But like I told you, Rising Sun was the highest of the trilogy. But then you take one of my other favorite designers, someone who also worked on HeroScape, and you put him on this, and what you get is the love child called Death May Die.
Oh, this is a good one.
Death May Die is super simple. I teach this game at conventions, and I have people playing this game in 10 minutes. It has no app, no integration, and what you do is you get a different boss, and you get a different scenario, and you take those two and you mix them together, Every time you play, this game is completely different. The heroes are amazing. You might be Rasputin. You can kill him, but he stands right back up. You're the little pyromaniac girl in a red dress who just lights things on fire as she goes. The world is being tore apart. The cultists, they're performing rituals, and they're trying to summon one of the Elder Ones in. You have to stop that ritual, and then you go straight after the Elder One and all of his creatures he's bringing in. This is so easy to understand, but there are so many great decisions along the way. It tells a story every single time. This is another one where I see people stand up at a table as someone runs in the room and goes, look, guys, I'm going to sacrifice my character. I'm running in this room. All these monsters are chasing, and we're going to drop a grenade in the middle of it all. I need you to go after the boss and get him when I die. And you're like, I'll do that for you, right? And it just...
I shall avenge you.
Oh, if you haven't played this game, I highly suggest you play. It is... Like, it's not hard. It's not hard, and the theme is not just glue. It feels like as those beasts are releasing things on you, you're like, could this get any worse? And it just gets so overwhelming, and all of a sudden you break the tide and you see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, we've got this, or this is going to go bad. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
Even if you're mediocre on Cthulhu, which I am, this is my number 14 game of all time. I see it rising.
It's one I should try.
It's really good. And it's simple, it's smooth, it feels good. So yeah, all right, good pick.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
All right, my number two probably was number one up until last year or whatever. But
really?
My number two was one of probably the greatest gaming experience I've had. And it is, because normally I didn't want to rank legacy games on here, but this one has to be up here. And this is my number 2 game of all time, and it is Clank Legacy.
Oh, nice.
Clank Legacy, or Acquisitions Incorporated, is such an incredible game. It's immersive. It's what I think it's what everything else Legacy is compared to, because this is 10 games. Each game feels like you're advancing the story. Each game is incredible. You feel like you're excited. They're short. You can expand it, and as you go forward, you are really feeling like that. I mean, you're starting to move, and your map grows. Then later, you can all play this game, and this is so good. We played another couple of friends of ours, and what's great about this too is they had a baby like shortly. We loved it so much, they bought another copy. We played it a second time, and at their shower, we got their little baby a little onesie that on the front it said, youngest member of the Dirty. I think Rory's got a picture of it over there. He's got youngest member of the Dirty Sack Flophouse.
Oh, nice.
And then on the back it says, "Bro, do you even clank?" And it's so good. It got for the age you were at Gen Con. And it's so funny, a whole room of older ladies and stuff, and they pull this out and they're like, "This is fantastic." And it was that type of thing for me right there is what you kind of get out of a game. It's the experience you create, the feeling you create. And every night we had was based around Clank. We'd talk like, "Are you ready to clank? Are you ready to clank?" Ended up getting a second box, so they would have a copy too. And you play through it. And it's just so smooth. I love every Clank. I love all the Clanks. But this one, if you haven't played it, it's fantastic.
If you have a good legacy game and you get a group of friends who are willing to play the whole thing with you and invest in that time consistently, it really makes bonds. Like, you have such good memories from those things.
And it's only 10 games about an hour long. 10-ish games.
I own all the Clank, and I have a copy of this sitting in shrink wrap on my shelf, just waiting, whether it's my kids or my grandkids, just getting them together for a couple of weeks or so and say, "Look, guys, this is what we're going to do." I am so excited to play this. I love Clank, and I have heard nothing but great reviews about this all the way around. And every time I walk into my game room, because it's a little bigger box, it sticks out from the Kallax. I'm like, I got to get that out. I got to get that out. I haven't even opened it yet. That is just still in shrink, and it's been there for like 3 years like that. But I will play that game, and I will run it through.
It's so good. And that little baby will be wearing that thing at Gen Con, too.
That'd be great.
So that, again, if you have not played Clank Legacy, even if you have, play it again. The experience was
calling to
unmatched. You. So good.
Very nice. Very nice.
Next up, my number 1 is the same number 1 as last year, and it is Brass. Brass Birmingham.
Okay. Was this your husband's one?
I don't remember. I mean, I didn't actually pay attention yesterday to his list.
Wow.
Probably. It's been high on his list as well.
Okay.
I love this. Give me a good economic game. Give me positive interaction. Give me amazing card play. Like, it's so good. Have either one of you played?
I have
Brass
not
Birmingham?
played Brass. So.
Okay, so years ago, Chris wanted to borrow the original OG Brass from some friends. We borrowed it, and I hated it. And I thought, like, but we played it enough times, I was like, fine, this is fine. And then Birmingham came out, and Chris really wanted to back it. He's like, this is what I want for my birthday. And I was like, I'm going to have to play this thing. Why? And so we got the Birmingham one, because it said it was better for 2 players and whatever. And I'll tell you what, they fixed absolutely everything that I had an issue with Lancashire, and they made it a better game. And so it took the good, meaty bones of what there was, and I could appreciate those bones, and they turned it into a game that is just, it's beautiful. You're investing in a bunch of different types of manufactured goods, and as you sell those goods, you can do cotton, or you can do, crates of goods, or you can do pottery kind of thing. As you're investing in them, things are costing coal, things are costing steel, and if you find that the market is running out of cheap steel or coal or whatever, you can build a coal building or a steel building, and you can earn money from that instantly. Or if someone needs it because there's excess on the board, they had to take from you before they take from the thing. So there's so much positive interaction, there's so much connection, and this is one of those games that you can't decide from the beginning what you're going to go into. You have to feel out the board because it is ever changing and ever growing. And so as you're playing the game, you're like, okay, I was going to do this, but now I've noticed that you've built beer, or you've done this, or you've done something else, and so I need to make different choices, and I need to change the way I'm gonna, so that I can score the most points. And so suddenly, you're building a bunch of rails and creating all these connection points instead, and people are using that, or you're filling in things that are missing, that goods-wise that people need. Like, there's just so much really good things, but there's also just some of that interaction of, like, you might steal the thing that I need because it's just sitting on the board, and if I don't use it first, you're gonna take it, and you're gonna score a bunch of points. So I love the interaction. I love the economic element behind it. And I just feel like it just is very well crafted. So well crafted.
That's good. There are times I walk through conventions and it seems like every single person's playing Brass Birmingham down through there. So you're on to something. There's a lot of people who love that game.
Yeah. I agree.
Just not quite in the wheelhouse, but it is one of those, I would try it as well. Just because everybody else seems to play it too. So I don't think you're alone on, maybe in this room you're alone, but I don't think you're alone at all on that game. So
yeah, it's good.
I haven't played it, so I want to play it.
Your wife would like it.
Yes, I know. Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right. So my number one game is, imagine releasing a first edition of a game, and it's just not good. It's just not good.
It's Lancashire.
You're right. That's what I was just thinking when you said that. But you pick up your pieces, you reassemble them, and you come out with the best dungeon crawl of all time. And not only do you come out with the best dungeon crawl of all time, you make it backwards compatible. So everything in the first edition and all of its adjacent games are compatible with your game. This is Massive Darkness 2. I have
I can see that.
more stuff for Massive Darkness 2 than I can ever use. That said, I am working on it and I'm getting through. But this crosses over with Black Plague. It crosses over with Green Horde. It crosses over with Massive Darkness. They give you the cards. All you do is just slide the figures in. My entire set is painted. This game, when you start playing it, each figure you choose, maybe you're the thief. The thief is a bag builder. That is how that character plays. So you have your own mini game. You get 3 actions, but the thief starts putting different actions in that bag and drawing them, and it maybe extends it out to 5, 6 actions. Maybe I'm the archer. That is a game of almost like 21. You don't want to break, but the closer you can get your arrows as you're drawing your cards, it can backfire. It can blow up in your face. You can do a regular action, or you can pull off these amazing moves. Every character plays different as it goes. There you are rolling in loot. As a matter of fact, when you draw a monster, you draw a weapon. So maybe you have goatmen coming down the hall who have magic staves, or maybe they have bow and arrow. It completely changes the way those monsters come down the hall. And when you defeat them, you get that loot. There's treasure chests everywhere, and you level constantly. And when you level, you have cards that branch you into about 3 different ways each hero can go. I could be the Ice Wizard, I could be the Fire Wizard, or it completely changes how you play that individual. It is an absolute dice chucker. It is Ameritrash, and it is so good. And the scenarios sometimes run about an hour to an hour and a half or so. Massive bosses. It's just...
It's just massive?
I know.
And there's darkness involved?
And
I painted the dude with the wings with like the orange like streaks around, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It was fun.
This I know Tom champions a lot, and I will tell you, this is one of my regrets for not backing, because I backed the first one. I was
You should have
mediocre on
backed
it.
the print and write version.
If they had a print and play, I would totally do that. But then I heard the second one was so much better. I have yet to play it, and I know. I know ours is painted, right? I guess.
Joey, you
just the
big guy.
I can't even tell you how much I believe you will love this game, actually.
I do need to play this.
And the other beauty of this is because it's massive darkness, your heroes, they were born in the darkness. They know how to fight in the dark. And if you go to the dark spots with your hero, so when they go to the dark, you actually get more dice. And with that dice, you get special dark powers, whether it's assassinations or whether it's dark shadow spell. It's so good. And the scenarios are tight. It's a constant flow of monsters in. You are on a clock. And it is one of those same thing. Someone's holding the door while the other people are doing actions, and you're looking down the hallway. There's 20 monsters down the hallway. The barbarian steps in the doorway and holds while somebody's trying to pick the locks on the final chest. I can't even tell you. This is the game I've been waiting for probably 30, 40 years.
Now it's yours.
Yeah,
$29.99.
so good.
I will try this one.
Oh, so good.
All right. So my number one, again, it's from one of my favorite designers, and it is
Phil Walker Harding.
It's not
Gizmo?
Phil. I do
It's
like
Gizmos?
It is not Gizmos. It is my, I do declare. This is actually a John Declare game, and this game is a new game, and it is sped to my number one game of all time, and it is Dead Reckoning.
Oh, wow.
Dead Reckoning is incredible. Dead Reckoning is a pirate game. It is a 4X style game where you explore and you start moving forward, and you can do whatever you want to. You can go to islands, you can drop your forts down there, you can plunder, you can battle, and you have to meet all of those different in conditions. But I will tell you what, man, this game is so good because the stories you get, the way you have to pivot, and I will tell you, you need to play the expansions on this, because I will tell you thematically the story of this when I'm going through and I'm getting wailed on, right? So I find a message in a bottle, and it's to somebody. Later, I find that the person who owns that message has a ship. And she's like, you can borrow my ship if you give me that message. I'm like, yeah. So I went back, I'm like, remember me? And then it's so great in the fact that these stories that you create, and the fact that the way you do the combat, you drop those cubes down that tower and they go, so you can win any combat you go up against if you're lucky enough, because the exploding die can start happening, because most people won't get a lot of cannons, and you can lean either way, and it's not a long game for a 4X game too. But this game is so good, and it's not getting a lot of buzz. A lot of people aren't playing this game as much as they should.
You can create the buzz.
Hopefully we'll create it, because I did teach this, I think 3 times at West. I taught this several times over there. And Salt and Thunder, I forgot the names of the expansions, are essential for this game, because they really push forward a story as you're having that 4X game. It is incredible. So, I mean, just look at the way, and we've upgraded most of our tokens, and it's a really, really fun game. And that is my number one game of all time because of the experience and the stories it creates, and that is Dead Reckoning.
It's a good game. I love how you build your characters out. This game I found you had to play more than once or twice because you will spend your nose in those rules the first couple of games, and that puts some people off in the beginning.
Yeah.
But if you can play it with a Joey or somebody who can answer your questions, it flows really smoothly, and it's great. Like I said, what is it, 12 cards you play with the whole game or so, but you're just sliding those cards in and building them, and they get better and better and
that's the thing,
better.
the card crafting didn't really connect me on, what's the other, Mystic Veil. I was that fell flat for me, but the card crafting makes sense as you level up those cards.
It's good.
It feels good. So that is my number one, Dead Reckoning.
That's exciting. We made it under 2 hours.
Hey.
Wow, we
Hey.
did it! Oh, that was great. So I think, is this the last thing for today?
Yep.
This
I
is the
believe
last
it
thing
is.
for today, but it's not the last thing for Summer Spectacular.
No, we are coming back tomorrow. We've got several games. We also have the mega announcements are at the end of the day tomorrow too.
I
So-
think we're starting the day with a top 10. Is that right, Roy?
Are we? The top 10 is somewhere tomorrow during the day. I'm not sure where it is exactly, but there is a top 10 tomorrow. And then the mega announcements. These are good announcements. I don't know. He won't tell me any of them.
No, he
so
wouldn't tell me either. I was trying to
hear there's some
find
good
out.
ones.
Yeah.
So, okay. Hey,
so
thank you
excited.
guys again so much for tuning in. I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Rod Phelps.
All right. Have fun going to play Dead Reckoning.
Nah, thanks,
And
all.
all the other games.
Massive darkness.
Mainly Dead Reckoning. Side Dark.
Welcome to the Dice Tower Summer Spectacular, featuring live plays, contests, and we'd like to thank our sponsors and our special guests. And we hope that you enjoy.